All right, guys. Good morning, everybody. Welcome aboard to our morning note. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm the founder and CEO of Gar Capital. Glad to be with you this morning. I didn't do a video yesterday morning. My apologies for the mic. I actually have like a nice boom stand mic on my desk, but it's really the StreamYard issue. So I went ahead and set up StreamYard on my laptop as a backup. So just in case I have any issues on the office computer, I can always step to the backyard and do a morning note with you guys on the laptop. So a lot easier that way. Good morning again. Glad to be with you. It is July 18th on a Thursday. Rock and roll after yesterday's big flush on the Nasdaq. Everyone saw that. The Dow was green. Equal weight S&P was down about 0.18%. So, rotation rears its ugly head again. But yet now Nasdaq getting a little bit of love this morning. Let's go over it together. The headline I wrote post Nasdaq fall, bloodbath, whatever you want to call it, big pullback. Are we, is it time for that bounce? And then we have the Russell pulling back as well, 0.41%. Are we getting this re-rotation back in? So let's go over this rationally together and go and kind of talk about what the next move is and what I'm seeing. So let's go ahead and add a study. We're going to add RSI. And this is the relative strength indicator, team. Usually indicates overbought, oversold relative strength to the S&P. So you could see kind of very high at an 83 and an 80. So we were overbought. Obviously, yesterday was the 17th. The 17th, usually after that, July seasonally, it's pretty weak. We've been saying that for a minute. The first 2 weeks of July, we take advantage, and we did. And I'm very proud of that. Now we got to look at it a different prism. We got to look in different perspectives and see, okay, a pullback. This is a good thing, a very good thing. It is very difficult to trade at all-time highs, guys, because after the all-time highs, what's your target? Higher. Well, that's great, but we need a plan. But when you get a pullback, especially in a bull market, these are just buying opportunities, but we want to make sure to find the right one, of course. Remember, just April 19th, that was the OPEX of April. We had that pullback too. Same thing. And, oh, that's it. Or we're going to retest 17,000, 16,926, and then whoop, all the way to nearly 21,000 on the NASDAQ. So a pullback. The question remains, do we have more? That's always the main question, right? Do we have more downside? Let's take a look at it. So we are now below the 20-day moving average. We got that. I got an alert here or a number there at 19,994. 20,000, round number theory, right? Very psychologically satisfying. We know that. Dewey Decimal System, always the top 10 this, top 10 that. But understand that it's still a big number for traders. That's probably your stop loss for pretty much everybody out there who is either buying the dip or looking to get in for a short. And that's kind of where I'm looking at too. We break below that. Yes, we can start taking a look at maybe 19,700. So that's about 300 points that we can use. Or we use 20,000 right now and use that as our support as we can target the highs here, which my highs would be the 20-day moving average at 20,268. So to me, if this rally has, or this snapback rally, or this relief rally, whatever you want to call it, has a little bit of legs, we want to get above the 20-day moving average. If that's the case and we do not get there, let's just say we kind of just hang around here, we're going to pull back. And this is probably going to be a sell the rip. And you're going to get back down to around 19,700, like I just stated. And the reason I'm saying that is because it's OPEX. We have options expire tomorrow. We're getting into the earnings season. The bar has been raised for these mega cap tech names. Do they keep up with their margins? I also placed a note on that on the live market blog. I said that, I believe, yesterday. So take a look at that. Scrolling at the bottom. It is free for everybody. So I would love to have you guys on there. If you like the morning note, then you'll love the live market blog because we're always talking about macro, giving out the headlines, all that good stuff. So a couple names I'm watching this morning. I have Mara calls again. So looking at it here on the 4-hour chart, we're still above 2506. The last time we traded Mara was the 25 calls, and boy, did that thing soar. And we're going to kind of use that as our support from now on. Right below it is the 20-day. Stay above there. That's 2450. So kind of give a 50-cent buffer. Beautiful breakout. I mean, textbook. We know that Bitcoin has been bouncing off that trend line. So we're going to use that as our kind of our proxy. Remember, we did BITO back in earlier this year. Myro's the one with the better options right now. I've been looking at the BITO volume. Again, it's not as high as Mara. So Mara, again, I prefer to trade that for now. But Bitcoin kind of fighting that 100-day moving average on the future side. I know there's a lot of jumbling here. This is open interest. I'll remove that here in a second. But 65,362, if we can get to 66K, 67,000, we're going to get to 70,000, guys. But what's interesting is that the seasonality in Bitcoin is weak for this period in time. So a lot of this, in my opinion, or from reading the headlines, is really the prospect of Donald Trump's reelection and him being friendly to crypto. JD Vance, his vice president nominee, is a Bitcoin guy. He owns Bitcoin. So the market is kind of pushing up on that. I'm not going to say that's not a part of it, but another part is obviously the dollar. The dollar's coming down, guys. Rate cuts are happening. The question is when, right? So September is pretty much baked in. I have this shaded here, this downward area here to 100. 100 on the dollar will happen by the end of the year, I believe, as we're cutting rates in September, November. The question is, do we get one in July? That's kind of the risk to the upside for stocks. If we do get that cut in July, depending on how much, the ECB did not cut today, so maybe July is probably not going to happen. I think September is probably going to get that first 25 basis cut. Do we get 50 basis points is the other question. So dollar pulling back is a good thing, obviously, for Bitcoin, since we trade Bitcoin in dollars in the currency. Let's take a look now at the 10-year bonds. Bond yields pulling back. Upward channel, pull back. Now we have a downward channel. 4.1%. That's kind of the level we're looking at. I think Nasdaq just broke my alert. So yields are still pulling back, still in trend, even though they're bouncing today. I think there was a bond auction yesterday. I forget. I want to say it was a 6-month that the volume, or in terms of the demand, just wasn't as nice as it was before. Didn't perform as well. Nasdaq starting to bounce now. 20,160 was kind of the level I was looking for. That was the overnight highs. So again, kind of the deal here. And I talked about shorting the Nasdaq or shorting tech stocks yesterday on a note for the watch list and charts, guys. And I'm glad we didn't play puts on anything. We kind of let the market do its thing. Let's kind of use futures as a way to ride this train, because this may not last. And the reason I say that is tomorrow is OPEX again, and you need the 20-day. So 20,292 or 285. Let's use that as kind of the possible ceiling for today and possible ceiling for the week, because OPEX is tomorrow, and OPEX in terms of the stock market almanac seasonally is pretty weak. So just want to give that heads up. Let me bring up Mara. Let's take a look now. Oh, RTY real quick. I didn't get over that. This is the Russell 2000 futures, and you could see pulling back here. Let me remove this. I thought maybe we were setting up for a possible bull flag, but it did not happen. And you're slowly melting down. And again, guys, RTY Russell has been absolutely on fire. I still believe in the small cap summer thesis, but things get overextended. We took advantage. Congratulations to everybody who traded futures on Russell, who traded IWM. You guys did great. We're looking at possibly going here to retest this top end trend line. And again, that would be very, very technically sound. So out of Russell into Nasdaq, possibly. Things don't last forever. Nasdaq is still the king. Sometimes, you get a pullback here and there, but that's what I'm seeing. So Russell, I'm keeping an eye for a pullback here to 22.15. Let's see if we can break the lows of around 22.50, 22.48. And if we do, I have no problem shorting RTY for a couple of points. All right. I know that was a lot. I didn't do around the horn. Let's go straight to the questions. Good morning. Good morning. Chris asks, when will Bitcoin really take off in anticipation of a Trump win? Oof. Okay. When it comes to politics, and again, elections are very fluid. There's always something called the October surprise. That's something that just happened throughout history of presidential politics. I think we could say this presidential cycle, or in terms of the election, is a little different than what we've seen usually. Usually presidents that lose re-election, they don't run again. So it's not unprecedented. Grover Cleveland did that in the late 1800s. But other than that, we haven't had any kind of that situation. Assassination attempts have happened to presidential candidates, even to presidents. It's nothing new. But again, does that really add to the sway who's going to win or not? Again, it's a long summer. A lot of headlines change. A lot of things change. Biden may not even stay in the race. That's kind of the headlines that's coming out from Reuters. A lot of pressure. But with that being said, it's hard to anticipate who's going to win an election because it is still based on votes. And human behavior is very fickle. We do that every day with trading options and trading futures. It's never the news, it's the reaction. So how do we react? I think the best bet we do is keep an eye on Bitcoin going to 70,000. Use technical analysis as kind of our barometer, not the presidential polls. That's going to be a tough one to go by that every day. Let's see. Morning. QQQ and SPY options. All right, let's do it. So again, I know I always talk about futures, so because it's just a little easier. So QQQ kind of like reclaiming this trend line here. You can see we've broken below it, so not really a most important trend line, let's just say. But if we go to the 4-hour chart on QQQ, 489.43. If we can get back to there and break above that, it's a buy the dip opportunity. Qs are going to get back to 500. More than likely, the scenario to me is that we're going to tag for it 490 and we're going to roll over and possibly get down to 472. That would meet the parameters of a seasonal pullback. Completely natural, completely normal, and completely needed because we cannot be just going up every day. Doesn't work that way. It's like a Jenga tower. It one way or another, it's going to fall. Let's see. Hi, Carl. Can you review Meta? All right, let's see it. We did fill the gap, at least on Meta. Let's look at the daily. Yeah, got this big old gap here at 400, still missing. And Meta's a great company. I think they're trying to buy a stake in Ray-Ban. So use the lows here, 458 as your support. If you're looking for additional upside, more than likely the target is going to be the 500 level. So 500 level is right below the 20-day. You do have a gap to fill here at 485. So if you get to 485, I would say the 500s are your best bet. The problem, it's going to be expensive, but a little less expensive than it would be in a bull market because you've already had premiums reset on this. Let's see. Oh, did I go over SPY? My apologies. I didn't do SPY yet. SPY and Qs are very similar. So SPY at least 561.48. Get above that, you're going to get back to all-time highs. So place the alert there at 561.44, and you can just do the 565 calls, and it should hit for you as long as it retests the highs. Okay, Brano says AMD. Look at AMD's perfect trend line support. Yep. Now it is bouncing. Let's look. Oh, let me see here. We do have a gap to fill. That's a good sign. All right. Oh, no, I put trend line. My apologies. All right, we're going to do the square here, guys. And here you go. So that would be 174.32. We'll call it 175, right? We're trading at 163 and a quarter. This actually has a very nice risk reward setup. And I'll tell you why. You already have your defined support. If this breaks this trend line here, this upward trend line, 140 is a possibility. That's just retesting the May lows. And that would be great for those who wanted to buy more shares. But for those with calls, that's not going to work. So we're bouncing here at 163.20. Let's get above 165. If we can get above there, you do have a gap at 175. It's a $10 range. Try to buy some time, but at least you have a defined support. So I like AMD here. I actually think this is a watch list type of play. AMD, last time we traded, we did catch it on a headline. So let's see if AMD can hold this trend line. Anything could happen today. Let's see if we can get above 165. Morning, Carlos. Currently got a calendar spread on DPZ at 475. Fell nicely. Thought maybe to leg out. Any questions? See how much you're up. That's important. Let's see the hourly. Oh man, no one's ordering pizzas anymore. So let's look at the 4-hour chart. Wow, there you go. Yeah, 400. Again, kind of the round number theory again. I know it's kind of human nature. I would take profits if you were short there. Just take it. You move on. Now you got a gap here at 472. More than likely, what I have noticed lately after earnings that are weak, you usually get that big 1-hour big pullback candle, and then you consolidate with about $5 range or about a 1% range in between. That's more than likely people getting out. That's not where buyers are trying to defend a price. That's what it is closing out. Remember, if you're short, in order to close, you have to buy. So that's where you get the buying right there, or support is holding. That's just people getting out of their shorts. So that's where I expect on DPZ 400, kind of just hang around here for the day, just frustrate everybody and entice everybody who was short or had a calendar spread, or either way, whatever different type of strategy they have to take their gains. And I think DPZ is going to be around that. So you're kind of bouncing now. Let's see. Hey, Carlos, MBLA, MLBLY. Hello. Mobileye. Possible head and shoulders, actually. It needs to hold above 26. Has to. If it doesn't hold 26, you're going to get down to around this level here. You could see not the best looking head and shoulders, but your left shoulder, your big head, and your right shoulder. And you got to hold and sustain above 26 on Mobileye. I would not be a buyer there. So, no. What's the next one? Snap. Oh, Lord. Snap, I had to get out. Unfortunately, this was the head and shoulders pattern, but it broke that line, the shoulder line. It's just unfortunate. And had volume and everything, pretty much the setup that you would want on a technical play, but it's just not going to work out here. It just keeps hitting premiums. The best bet is to wait for the breakout at 1755 and see if we can trade that for the upside. But it is set up for higher, but it just broke that shoulder line, unfortunately. Let's look at Tesla puts this morning. Is Tesla down this morning? No, it's up. So possible double top. I talked about that on the watches and charts. Here's the deal. Tesla possible double top on the daily 260. If we can get below 240, then we can look at filling the 231.49 gap on the daily. So this is for the options members, option signal members, and not part of the blog. But we did talk about it yesterday. See that double top here right around 260? See if we get that pullback here. 231.49 is my level to break to the downside. That would get us back to this channel, the one that we've talked about forever now. And once we do breach that, the next level of support is 222. That's your 20-day. And we're really above that. So what do I expect out of Tesla? Same deal. Probably just chop around until earnings. And earnings are coming, I believe, next week. Netflix is today. So Netflix reports earnings. That should move the needle on the Nasdaq itself. Well, somewhat. Let's see. SMCI. Oh, you got the wedge breakout, triangle breakout, whatever you want to call it. And now just kind of hanging out, bouncing now, 838, volatile one. Yeah, you're just kind of stuck in a range. Do you know what name was very similar to that move? Was Robinhood, where you had the triangle and it just chopped. And then it finally just got where it got. With Robinhood, I do have calls, again, still above 24. Beautiful triangle. We already caught it once. But nice setups are nice setups. I see the similar move on SMCI. SMCI to me, 1,000 easily is going to happen by end of the year, in my opinion. 1229 by the end of the year is real my money target. But again, just chopping here. But again, at least breaking down of the downward trend. That's a good sign. The question is, does it hold? 700 being the major level of support. Amazon and XOM. Amazon, rest in peace to our calls. Unfortunately, not even Prime Day could help. Upward, see the upward wedge here, not good. Breakdown, not good. But if we get below 188, possible short. I just don't want to revenge trade it. That's the only thing. So I have my alerts there. I'm watching it. If we can get it below 186, then yeah, I want to short down to 175 support and make my money back. That's what I'm looking for. XOM, everyone's been asking me. Yes, XOM has hurt our feelings and mine before, but it is moving above 118.25. It broke out of there this morning. If it breaks above there, 120 is the next target. That's a downward channel breakout. If you guys remember, we talked about the cup and handle. The cup and handle that we've been waiting for only lasted, 3 months that we had to wait, and then it finally broke. So more of that, I wasn't wrong. I was just early. So 120 is the major target. The question remains, do we break out of it? We have before. I'm not going to test that theory. I would get out at 120.74. Is Netflix short still in play? That was from the video, and you could see right on that channel. Yes. To me, I think Netflix gets back down to 585. on a technical basis. I have no idea about their earnings. We just hit their recent highs. Yeah, that was the recent high, 700. That was it. And you can see just a beautiful trend line up, but it's rejected every time. So, yes, I do expect Netflix to pull back. Just be careful trading that option. You can get IV smashed really quickly, especially if you're doing it for tomorrow expiry, which is basically jumping out of an airplane without a parachute at that point. Fun for a little bit, if it works out for you. But the 20-week moving average is 630. So 630 is a major level of support. But again, the trend line is still holding. We'll keep 600 in mind, 585. XOM is up 120 next. That is next. Yes, it is. And I hate myself for it. Let's take a look at BE. BE is Bloom Energy. Never heard of them. Okay, just looking at the chart here, right around 1770, 1860. Sounds like years of in history, but we got to get out of this here. So let's draw a couple lines. You have two lines. Got this level of resistance here. It's more of a zone of resistance. So we can call this what? Supply, right? Overhead supply or resistance, whatever you want to call it. Got to break above here, 1882, before you can have any kind of upside potential on this one. I'm afraid that, 1, 2 possible double tap, and this candle isn't the best. Looks like we may be heading back down on BE. Crowd. Let's see it. Crowd strike. All right, you filled the daily gap there on the right on the 50-day. That's good. Ooh, breakout to all-time highs and just pulling back, consolidating. Yeah, can't say. I would say I'm rather neutral on this name. Got to break 400 for us to go higher, which again, trading all-time highs is not easy. Below 350, you're at 352 now. Maybe below 335, you can get to the 300s, 300 level of support, but the upside is there. And then if anything, actually, well, let's see this. Yeah, right around 335. Yep. So if you break 335, I believe this would be some additional weakness opportunity to 300. Yeah. You could maybe say it's a rising triangle, rising wedge, but really not exactly perfect. But no chart is ever perfect, right? That's just the reality. Crowd, again, you say crowd looks good on calls. If it can hold, yes, absolutely. But I actually think that if we get down to 335, this is a short, Ayush. So just a heads up. NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been very mean to me lately. So let's look at it together. 115 and a quarter. That's your 50-day. If that breaks, it's down to 97 to possibly 110. And I would want to short it. I know. Terrible thought. I was in calls on this thing and just got nuked. 125 is, or 124 and a quarter is your next gap to fill. And if NVIDIA's up, team, that means Nasdaq will be up. So we will see if NVIDIA gives us a little more juice. But remember I talked about those head and shoulder patterns? It did break down, yes, but it is holding support, at least on this end. But NVIDIA needs to break 125 for any semblance of possibly going long again. It needs a little more to prove. I mean, imagine that. This name needs to prove anything, but let's get above the 20-day moving average and see what we can get. AMD to me looks a little better. How's that? All right, we'll leave it there. Have a great rest of your morning, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the next morning note, and I will see you guys on the server. Make sure to join us on Discord, and all the information is scrolling below. Thanks again, guys. Make sure to like and subscribe. Appreciate y'all. See you then. Cheers.